What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junkdrummer TV, where I give my initial reactions, my hot takes, my analysis on the drummers of today and yesterday. Maybe tomorrow, if I stick around that long. I'm a professional drum teacher and a giggy musician, and I have been for the last 20 plus years. Okay, everyone remember, always know where your towel is, and don't panic. That's right, this is video number 2 in a post-quarantine world. I keep waiting for Mad Max to happen. It's the only reason why I go to the window. I'm just looking for Mad Max to happen. We're going to be doing something a little different today. We're going to be listening to an isolated drum track of Dave Grohl playing In Bloom. If you've watched this channel, you've heard me probably drop that name more than any other drummer. I say it all the time. Phil Collins made me want to play drums, Dave Grohl made me want to be in a band, and Levon Helm made me want to try to be great. Dave Grohl is a huge influence on me. His playing on Nevermind and In Utero is probably damn near perfect. Look, I graduated in 1995. I lived through the heart of the grunge scene. And I'm a big fan of the big four: Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. For all you commenters who keep asking for those drummers, of course I'm going to get to them. Because I am sick of dealing with YouTube copyright claims, I did something a little different. I got the video of his isolated drum track, and then just to have something to watch, I laid it over top of the video for the same song. Stick around for the end of the video, and I will tell you the story about how Dave Grohl changed my life. Before we get into it, please give me a like, comment, and share. Give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. Please check out my Patreon. Please check out my PayPal donation link if you're into that kind of thing. Let's get into watching and listening to the isolated drum track to In Bloom by Dave Grohl and Nirvana. Man, if this track don't make you want to play drums, I just don't know. I don't know about you. So you're going to have to really know this song well to get, the gist of what we're doing. But chances are if you hit this video, you know this song. Right there, those first couple things. Here is what Dave Grohl did on a genius level on Nevermind and In Utero. He is an expert composer of song parts. You know, I've talked about how Neil Peart is the greatest composer of drums. And in a lot of ways, I know this is going to piss so many Rush fans off. But in a lot of ways, Dave Grohl, his overall ethos of playing songs is the same. Now, obviously, it's not as hard and proggy and difficult as what Neil did. But bear with me. What you just heard there, you can follow along with the song just by listening to the drums. That's so important for your creativity. We'll talk about that later too. What you heard was that, hook drum fill at the beginning. Right? You can play that lick in any bar or club in the whole wide world, and they know exactly what you're playing. That is a hook. So then after he played that, he was playing, the main groove of it, which is da-da, da-da, right? I'm going to call this an analyze video because I obviously know every nook and cranny of this song. I teach this all the time, and I use this song for what I'm doing right now. So when he started playing that regular, the verse groove, he had a tight hi-hat sound. Then as soon as brother Kurt Cobain started singing, he tightened up the hi-hat sound. So right here, the vocals are going, right? God, we're going to talk about how great these drums sound. Butch Vig, thank you so much for bringing back good drum sounds. Okay, so right here, this is kind of like the ass end of the verse, and he's opened up the hi-hat to differentiate it from the part before, because the band is playing a different chord structure at the end of that verse. So his drums follow the form. So here's the chorus. And these little drum fills right here. And that goes right with the vocals. How about me being able to match up this video to these drum tracks? Go Steve. This video is so dope. Playing those 6 tuplet fills right there, going in between Kurt Cobain's vocals. And now back to the drum hook. That hook is so singular. That hook is just like playing Come Together by the Beatles. You play it and you know exactly what you're listening to. This is not a rip on AC/DC, but I love it, and I love because I love AC/DC. But if you play an AC/DC track or play the drums without the music, except for Back in Black, you could probably maybe figure it out. For the most part, you're not going to be able to follow along with the song because those drums, they do a different job in that music. With Dave Grohl, it was so married to the arrangement of the song. So if you notice, he went right to the tight hi-hat sound right there because the vocals come in right after that lick, the second verse. And then listen for the hi-hat opening right there. And that's that ass end of that verse. Let's talk about the drum sound. Here's the thing about the 90s that you hair rockers are not going to like. Drums in the 80s, for the most part, sounded whack as fuck. All of the drum sounds on what was rock and roll in the 80s, which is like hair band music. I'm not looking at you, metal. I'm not looking at you, but especially like pop music and hair music, drums had a very over-processed sound. I'm going to use a lot of like insider studio terms, search all this stuff. Those drums were muted to death, and then they gated the hell out of them. So the drums were gated to death, which choked the sound, and then they drenched them with reverb. Go listen to Poison or Motley Crue or any of those whack-ass drum sounds, and you know what I'm talking about. One of the things about the 90s that people don't talk about enough is the 90s was like the 70s in drum sounds. The drums sounded like fucking drums again. This is a wide open drum sound. You can hear the room that drum exists in. Those drums are, they're really compressed. They seem like they're pretty smashed. But there's no gates on anything. Everything's ringing out. And that gives the drums more balls in the mix when you go to mix it. Thank you, Butch Vig. Yeah, especially in the snare drum sound. If you got good headphones for listening to this one, good sound, you can hear the that video is so ridiculous. You can hear the natural reverberation in the room. So we're in the chorus again. And even with me talking, I can just hear the drum part and know that we're in the chorus. We're going to talk about that too. That's a big signature of Dave Grohl's playing. Really wide open flams. If you come from a marching band rudimental school of playing, your flams are very tight. When he played, he almost played them wrong. He almost played his flams like that. Like if you think about it, like physically looking at the flams, the grace note and the main note, it's almost like he just opened up the space. And when Dave Grohl plays flams, it's really open and it's chunkier and it's a more violent flam sound. Like I said, the difference between like a really good trained classical and or rudimental drummer, the flams would be, and when he played them, they were very, opening the space up. It's real stylistic. And then that became a thing that lots of drummers did after playing with Nirvana, this guy included, or listening to Nirvana, this guy included. So, this is the guitar solo, and Kurt Cobain, especially on Nevermind, would play a guitar solo, and it was basically the vocal line, right? And that was the genius of Nirvana, was they were like the Beatles, because everything was a hook. Everything was written to be a memorable hook. The bass line, the drums, the guitar, and, you know, obviously the vocals. And I think that he did this record without a metronome. If that's true, he is nailing this time. I think sometimes you can get a better feel in the studio with not using a metronome. I'm a lot of times scared to not use a metronome. Yeah, man, listen to those toms. They're thundering, and they're using natural reverb instead of that 80s way of like saturating it with rack mount reverb, and it always makes drums sound synthetic. Oh, you know what? You could hear a little bit of a gate at the end of that. It'll let you hear what a gate sounds like. Listen to how the cymbals die out just a little bit at the end. There is a little bit of gate on the drums anyway. Maybe just on the overheads. Listen. Hear that at the end? That's a gate. That's what I was talking about earlier. Oh, so, Dave Grohl, isolated drum track. That is a masterclass in writing your drums along with the music. I think that the reason why drums get put in that category of the thing that anyone can do, and you know, the drummer is the dumb guy, we've all heard those fucking jokes. The reason why people think of drums like that is, first of all, it's kind of the easiest instrument to play badly. Even if you pick up a guitar, you kind of at least have to make like a G chord to like make anything sound like music. Drums are the easiest instrument to play badly, and they're the easiest instrument to play generically. That's the word, generic. It's very easy to play the drums generic. Let's be honest. There's a video on YouTube of a guy playing boom, tap, over 100 different songs. You can play that groove and get a gig if you play that groove really well. But what Dave Grohl was a master at was composing his drum parts perfectly with what was going on in the song. Every time the band changed something, he changed something, even if it's as small a detail as going from a tight hi-hat sound to a sloshy hi-hat sound. So what you just saw there was a lesson that I've given 1,000 times to students over the years. I take this song and I pretty much do exactly what I just did. Here's the story about how Dave Grohl changed my life. I was already a drummer, you know, I've been in marching band, and then the world premiere, I saw the world premiere on MTV of Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was like an earthquake hit my chest. I'd never felt like anything that I'd felt when I saw Nirvana. It was like seeing Led Zeppelin for the first time for me. So, back before, we had DVRs, I glued myself to MTV. I put a VCR tape in, and I just was waiting for however many hours it took for that video to come on again so I could get a recording of it on the VCR. And I finally got that recording. I listened to it like, goddamn, 15, 20 times in a row over a weekend. And I came into homeroom class on Monday, and my best friend was a guy named Josh. He actually watches some of these videos. I go in, I sat down beside my buddy Josh, and I go, "Hey dude, have you heard?" And Josh almost at the same time goes, "Hey man, have you heard?" And then we just fanboyed out about this new band and this new kind of music that we had heard. He had done pretty much the same thing that I did. And, you know, side story of that, Josh was the lead singer of my very first band in high school. That's how much Dave Grohl means to me. I still steal concepts of his to this day. If you enjoyed all that, please give me a like, comment, and share. Give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. Patreon, PayPal. Please, everyone stay safe, stay happy, and keep practicing until it's easy.